Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check it off, because we make getting vaccinated easy. You've got this, because we've got you. To learn more, visit yougotthis.usaging.org.
From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
There I am. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Randy Burt. I'm sitting in for you-know-who, Doc Hamels, which is who knows where. I'm not sure if he'll call in today and tell you where he is, but I'll let it be a secret. So for the next 3 weeks, you're going to see me sitting here. I'm going to be the Doc. So I got a great guest today. I can't wait to get talking to her. So I'm just going to shut my mouth up and read some announcements so I can get right into the show. But first, if you want to call in or contact us, you could call our call-in number 716-753-5225. Or you can contact us with the email address, Jeff, there it is. We're also going to be at 1 o'clock on Tuesday on WRFA radio station in Jamestown, low power to the people. Hopefully today we're live around the world on Facebook on Chautauqua Sunrise. So give us a call. Trying to think. I guess that is about it. So I'm just going to get right into the announcements. Bear with me on these things. They can get pretty tricky. Jeff, slide number 15. Yes, local art students showcase talent in exciting public art show at Pearl City Clay House. Infinity Visual and Performing Arts proudly presents a vibrant exhibition of artistic talent as students unveil their creations in a public art show at Pearl City Clay House, running from June 1st to June 30th. This eagerly anticipated event promises to captivate art enthusiasts of all ages. The showcase kicks off with an evening reception on June 1st from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., inviting the community to immerse themselves in a world of creativity. This free event welcomes all members of the public to experience and evening filled with artistic inspiration. Attendees will have the opportunity to engage with some of Infinity's talented students and art instructors while enjoying light refreshments. Infinity Development Coordinator and art instructor Ashley Pickering shares, "There are so many inspiring, and I can't wait to share and celebrate all their hard work with our community. From captivating sculptures to mesmerizing paintings, the exhibition promises to offer something for everyone. Whether you're a seasoned art aficionado or simply appreciate the beauty of creativity, this event is not to be missed. Don't miss your chance to experience the next generation of artistic talent at the Public Art Show hosted by Infinity Visual and Performing Arts. Mark your calendars for June 1st and join us at Pearl City Clay House for an unforgettable evening celebrating the power of art. You can learn more on their website at www.infinityperformingarts.org. Tour of Chautauqua. Join hundreds of riders for the largest and best century ride in Chautauqua County. Tours. You may choose to ride from one of the 4 tours. The 25-mile tour follows Lake Erie Plain. Antique shops, restaurants, and wineries are on this tour. The 40, 75, and 100-mile tours feature a variety of flat roads, hills, lake views, small towns, and scenic areas in Chautauqua County. Starts at Westfield, New York, located 1.5 miles south of I-90, exit 60. All 4 route rides start and end at Moore Park in Westfield at the intersection of 20 and 394. That would be Main Street and Portage Streets. Check-in registration the day of the ride is between 7:30 and 8:45. Registration will be at Easton Hall, 23 Elm Street, across from the park. All tours begin with a mass start at 9 o'clock. Maps, narratives are provided the day of the ride. Support. Food during the ride is the responsibility of each rider. The tour passes through several small towns where food can be purchased. And as part of your registration fee, a sit-down meal will be provided at the finish across the street from the Episcopal Church. Water stops with light refreshments are provided along all the tours. They'll have a sag wagon, and radio people will be on all tour routes and will follow the last riders. Priority will be given to injuries or breakdowns. The rider and bike should be in condition to go the distance you select. Medical information stickers will be provided. Cost registration $35 and must be received before August 24th to receive our traditional Tour of Chautauqua t-shirt. After August 24th, late registration riders will receive a Tour of Chautauqua water bottle. For information, contact Westfield Recreation Department at 716-753-6842, and the person is Andrew, and you can visit their website at www.westfieldnewyork.com/recreation/documents/2024 Tour Chautauqua registration form. That's a big thing. It's easier just to go by the recreation, contacting them. Sponsored by the Westfield Recreation Department, this is a recreational tour, not a bike race. Helmets are required, and it is fun.
Doc says hi.
Oh, we just got a message on Justin's Facebook that Doc, he says hi, so he's somewhere out there. Okay, I'm going to tell you. He's in Greece, Athens. He's never been there, and from what I heard, it's pretty awesome and a busy town. So, Doc, Glad you could call in or send a message, and we're going to have a great show. Grand opening event, Mayville Depot Museum, Saturday, May 25th. Today, the Chautauqua Town Historical Society is hosting an open house, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Mayville Depot Museum, 16 Water Street, Mayville, Lakeside Park. The museum is open from 1 to 5, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday during the summer season, Memorial Day to Labor Day weekends. While admission is free, they request a modest donation. The event will feature the launching of the museum's new touchscreen video display system. A series of 18 short videos, about 10 minutes each, will be shown. They are edited from full videos produced by Chautauqua Town historian Devin Taylor, covering a number of local historical topics produced for Access Chautauqua, formerly Access Channel 5, under the direction of Chuck Kelsey and assistant of Chris Burt. Nothing like messing up your kid. In addition to the continuous video show, the museum's holdings will be on display. The museum houses numerous artifacts related to former Mayville residents and businesses. Whether a quick dip or a serious immersion, a museum visit promises fascinating historical views and insights. Mayville and its surrounding region. The railroad came to Mayville in 1866 and started regular service in 1867. Due to declining use, train service ceased December 29, 1978, thus ending 112 years of rail service to Mayville. Over the past 45 years, various community-oriented concerts have occupied the depot building. Today, the museum occupies one half of the former Mayville Railroad Depot. The current campaign to upgrade the museum would not have been possible without the generous support of local foundations. The Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, the DFT Communications, RMN Golf Tournament Community Better Fund, and the Lakeshore Savings Bank Community Reinvestment Program are some of the funding providers. The village of Mayville has been growing in recent years, and new businesses and older ones being renovated and updated. Many of these same businesses have provided door prizes to sponsor at the open house. There will be a drawing throughout the afternoon, and the close of the event, a final crescendo drawing with all the remaining prizes. Light refreshments will be served. So if you know where the train station is, you can see a picture of it just at the bottom of the hill of Mayville, and I've been in there several times, and it's awesome. Now we're going slide number 18 to Westfield, New York. The Chautauqua County Historical Society will hold its annual Spring Gala on Saturday, June 8th at McClurg Museum. The gala features hors d'oeuvres and refreshments from 6 to 8 p.m. Tickets to the event are $50 and are available by calling CCHS 716-326-2977 or by email at info@cchs.mcclurg.org. Guests are invited to view the new exhibits and improvements to the museum during the gala. A self-guided audio tour is also available. The McClurg homestead, completed in 1820 by James McClurg, has housed the County Historical Society since 1951. The structure was placed in the National Register of Historical Places, 1984. The gala concedes with the reenactment just steps from the museum of the daily life and experiences of the 9th New York Cavalry, which mustered out of Chautauqua County during the Civil War. The encampment, held June 7th through 9th, is free and open to the public. Gala attendees are invited to visit the encampment to learn more about the Calvary efforts. For more information on programs, visit cchsmcclurg.org. And one final announcement, Jamestown, New York. Cornell Cooperative Extension, the County 4-H and Master Gardener Program is excited to announce a new series of free classes called Growing Your Food, taking place at the kitchen garden space at the Audubon Community Nature Center. Spring is a great time to consider starting a produce garden. Through the Growing Your Food series, master gardeners, Audubon volunteers, and 4-H educators will walk through the process of planting your garden, caring for it through the season, and harvesting delicious foods. Classes are from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Audubon Community Nature Center, starting at the pavilion and moving to the kitchen square space on Thursday throughout the summer. Upcoming classes in the 2024 season include Composting 101 on June 6th, Promoting Pollination on June 27th, In-Season Plant Care on July 25th, and Harvesting from the Garden. Attend free of charge. For questions, please contact Cornell Cooperative Extension 4-H Youth Department Program at Chautauqua 4-H at cornell.edu or by phone at 716-665-9502, extension 216. Now, if you ever forget the number, you can call the station and leave your message, and we will get back to you with the information. So now we're all done reading through the announcements. Keep sending them in. Doc will read them better than I do. But okay, so we're going to go to a public service announcement, and we're going to get right into the show.
When you're out there, there's no telling what you'll find.
I see it! Oh, look at you.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
I remember playing in the forest as a kid. Nowadays, I don't even know if I dare go out there because some reason I don't like snakes. I never seen them as a kid most of the time, but if I saw a snake, I'd just run until I got in the house and covered my head up. So we're going to get right into the show now. I brought in a new guest today. She's been on the show one time years ago, but I got to know her at the Lakeshore Center for the Arts, and she does something really interesting. I enjoy traveling, so I'm going to welcome to the show Karin Cockram, and she's going to talk about a place that we see on TV, but I'm pretty sure not many of us have been there. Good morning, Karin.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, Karin, are you local, or have you lived around here or all over?
I've lived in Westfield for 18 years. I was born in Massachusetts, moved to Uganda when I was a child, moved back to the Finger Lakes area, and then lived in Wisconsin for a little while after I got married, and then we moved here almost 18 years ago.
Awesome. So
19 years ago, almost 19 years ago.
So you lived in Uganda?
I did live in Uganda. My dad was employed by the Ugandan Department of Education to set up schools because the president wanted the country to be more educated, so he was sending students to the United States and Europe to earn their degrees in education at colleges, and then teachers were going to set up schools from the US and Europe so that the Ugandan teachers would have places to teach when they came back. So we were there, and then Idi Amin took over, and we were there another year, and then we were evacuated to Kenya for a few weeks, or almost 2 months, until we realized we weren't going back to Uganda and ended up back in the States. So. Yeah.
Man, I just can't believe it. It's places, you know, as they say, we see them on TV, but I've never been there. So, I got to know you, meet you at Lakeshore Center for the Arts,
Yeah.
which you have a position there. And what is that?
I am the Brenda Eno Gallery art director. So I take care of coordinating the art shows for Lakeshore Center for the Arts. So all the visual arts.
So if nobody's ever been to Lakeshore Center of the Arts in Westfield, it's across from the library, and I get to check out the art shows usually before everybody else. So I get the ding, ding, ding. I can get in and look, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Besides that, you you have a lot of photographs there.
I do take a lot of photos.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I couldn't do it. I just could get the color and the quality as nice as that. But
People have told me it's because I have a good camera. So
I think it's talent.
yeah, I hope it has something to do with talent too. But
I haven't had a lot of luck with photography lately. To me, it was an expensive lens on my camera in my bag. So I'm in Buffalo Airport getting ready to go through security. I get through security. Well, you have to take your belt off.
right.
So I'm carrying everything over to where you sit down to put your shoes on and everything, and my pants are falling down. So my camera's probably 2 or 3 feet off the floor. I had to drop it. It was either drop the camera or drop the pants.
ooh.
So I spent the whole trip in California and Hawaii with just a camera that would not focus.
Yeah.
I destroyed that lens, which was my baby.
Aw.
But so we're going to get into the show now. First question I'm going to ask you, I think you answered some of it, but what made you interested in traveling to Kenya, and do you plan to go back?
Well, mostly my interest in East Africa was because of living there as a child. And I didn't have the opportunity to go back until almost 50 years exactly after we left. So I went with a medical mission trip in November of 2022. I went back with a volunteer agency in September of 23. I was there in February of 24, and I leave on Thursday to go back again.
Oh, man, that's a long ride.
It's about a 30-hour trip from my front door to the house that I stay at.
So where do you fly, like out of Toronto?
I fly out of Buffalo, usually.
Okay.
Fly out of Buffalo. You can either go almost directly, Buffalo JFK to Nairobi. It's less expensive if you take 2 trips. So I've been Buffalo, Amsterdam, Nairobi. This time I'm going Buffalo, Charles de Gaulle in Paris to Nairobi. And then I actually come back, Buffalo to JFK to Charles de Gaulle to Nairobi. And I come back through Detroit. So, which is a lot nicer than coming back through JFK.
JFK,
But, yeah.
My first trip in there was totally lost. I had to go to Paris. No, I had to go to London. London, yeah.
Yeah.
And this flight's loaded for London. I'm getting ready to get on it. It's not even my flight.
Yeah.
But what they did, they combined, like, you'd get a flight number at Buffalo or wherever. Then they'd combine them to a different flight number, and then you're trying to figure that out. And it was, somehow I got to London.
Yeah.
First year was tough. Second year was a little better, but so
Yeah.
you lived in Nairobi. That would be.
I was in Nairobi for a couple of months. I was in Kampala in Uganda for 3 years.
So
So
if people are like me, until I talk to you, where is Nairobi in Africa? Is it on the bottom, top side?
Well, Kenya is on the eastern coast of Africa. It's on the Indian Ocean, about halfway down. So if you look at a map of Africa, it's just about halfway and all the way over to the east. And Nairobi is south central of the country. But I'm all over the country when I go. I travel to Kitale and Eldoret, which are in the west. I've traveled to Maasai land to Kajiado, which is a little bit southeast of Nairobi. So I'm all over when I'm there.
So when you're there, are you alone? You're with a group or a person?
The first trip I went with a medical mission team. The second trip I went with a volunteer agency, but I go by myself. And then I've been assigned at a special needs school that I'm pretty much by myself, but I have a coordinating agency and a wonderful program director named James, who makes sure that I get everywhere I need to be, with somebody. I can travel by myself. I could take a matatu, which is an 8-seater van that's fitted for 14 people. They put 6 extra seats in it. It's a little crowded, but I can take public transportation perfectly safely. But James keeps me really well protected and taken care of, so I almost never have to travel alone. but I get there by myself.
So one of my questions was, what makes you want to go back? But I think you covered that really well.
I love everything about Kenya. I love the people, especially love the people. I love the air, I love the scenery, I love the animals, I love the food. There's a sense of joy in that country that it's hard to find someplace else. But I'll go as often as I can.
So Kenya, now I've been to some wild places. Is it safe in Kenya?
I love that question. Absolutely yes, and the yes with one qualifier. The U.S. State Department has a safety rating system for every country in the world except the U.S. And it's a level 1 to a level 4, 1 being perfectly safe, 4 being you shouldn't go there. And level 1 countries are places like Liechtenstein or Tonga or Japan or Iceland. Level 2s are places like Denmark, France, Belgium, Germany, Kenya. Level 3s are places like Jamaica, Guatemala, Egypt, and level 4s are Burma, Afghanistan, Haiti, Russia, so on. But Kenya is a level 2. It's just as safe as going to Denmark or going to Belgium. There are 2 exceptions to that. The Kibera slum and the Eastleigh slum are considered a level 3. They're considered less safe, and you probably shouldn't go there. That's where I go. So, and I have never, knock on wood, I have never had a problem. I have never had anybody do anything inappropriate or say anything inappropriate. I've never had anybody there ask me for money. I've never felt unsafe in Kibera. I don't go there by myself. I'm fairly obviously not Kenyan, but I would go to the school by myself at this point.
Sounds great. I mean, I've been to
but it's
places
lovely.
that if I'm not staying with a crowd or something, I'm like, some of them places can get pretty
Scary?
spooky.
It is helpful that I'm considered elderly. And that's a long story that I would love to share with people sometime, but I am considered elderly, and there is a respect for older people in Kenya that is pretty pervasive throughout the society. So I have the little added benefit there of being old. So I'm treated pretty well.
That's good, because I've been places and they're on a bus and they don't, like my oldest, I was carrying him one time to Hawaii and riding a bus like 11 miles holding him because nobody will give up their seat.
Oh, yeah.
I found though the last couple trips, people either feel sorry for you standing or they hate you bumping into them as the bus goes around the corner, but sometimes they'll give up their seats, but I still have that guilty feeling. I'm just a young person, even though my legs are shot.
When I go from the homestay where I stay to the Matatu station, there's a gentleman there whose name is Davison, who looks out for Mzungus, who looks out for white people. And because, as I was told, we're not pushy enough. So he will block off part of a Matatu, and he'll just keep his arm there until we get there.
Wow.
And there'll be a seat, and he'll have us sit there. And I feel guilty sometimes when people have been waiting to get on for a while, but he's right. We wouldn't push our way on the way we should to get a seat. So it's fun. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's kind of fun.
Nice guy.
He is a very nice guy.
So when you're talking about your rides, are they the kind they fill them up and then they put the seats down in the aisle like Japan?
Oh no, these just have all the seats already out
Japan,
all the time, and you don't go till the thing is full.
Once it's full, they start in the back and they put the middle seat in the aisle down. So
yeah, no, these seats are just there, so you climb over everybody to get to the back.
So some of the things you've done there, I know you've done some lectures at Lakeshore Center for the Arts. So what are, when you get there, first off, I got to find out, is it like we watch on TV, just a big jungle, or is there like a big city there too?
Nairobi is a huge city, and there are lots of cities all over the country, and they're very modern cities. People have asked about that, and if you were dropped into the middle of a mall in Nairobi or in Kitale, you would not know that you weren't in the United States, unless you were looking for a very specific store. But there are bookstores and shoe stores and home decor and clothing and food courts that are huge, and it's a very Nairobi is a very modern city, and most of the cities are very modern.
So that's where they go with like television. They show the out, with the animals, and you think the whole
Right.
places like that.
There's also beautiful countryside,
Oh, I bet.
phenomenally gorgeous scenery, and there I've got some pictures that we might show up later of 14 Falls. I went hiking at 14 Falls, which is a huge waterfall park. There's a national park in the city. It's the only city on the continent that has a national park within the city limits. So you get off the airplane and there are zebras, but there are also high rises and skyscrapers, and
That's got to be
it's-
sort of
it's-
weird.
it is a little weird, and it's
Especially
beautiful
when
and
you
amazing.
first get off the plane. And this is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
But so you work with children at a school.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do with them?
So the first trip I went on was a medical mission trip, and I went with a team of nurses and midwives. I am an occupational therapist. I mostly work in pediatrics. I have a specialty certification in autism spectrum disorder. I also have a specialty certification in vision. So the first trip I went, I worked in some clinics. Mostly I played with kids, but I also worked in some clinics helping people doing some vision evaluations and recommending reading glasses and things to do, like increasing your light levels and so on. Then the second one, I went with a volunteer agency. I was placed at a special needs school in the Kibera slum where the students range from age 12 to 35. And I do whatever they need me to do. So for a while, I was helping the kids make rugs. Students make rugs. The teacher has asked me if I can help her with some programming ideas, therapeutic ideas for the children who have cerebral palsy because they don't have access to therapists at that particular school. There are OTs and PTs all over the country, but they're almost as rare as we have here, and it's hard to get somebody into the slums to do that kind of work. So I'm helping them set up some programs. We might be talking about doing some sign language classes, but pretty much I take toys and I play.
So what language do they speak? Do they speak English?
Yes, there are two national languages. English is one and Swahili is the other. And almost everybody is trilingual because they also speak their tribal language. So almost everybody speaks three languages, but except for a few of the older women in the smaller villages who maybe didn't go to school, everybody speaks fluent English.
So now you're talking about schools. I think you might have a picture later, but are they huge schools like we have, like we're in now, or Chautauqua Lake or Westfield, or are they one-room
vary.
schools?
They vary. Some of the schools I saw I didn't see any one rooms. Some of them are 2 or 3 rooms, but there are 50 kids in the class, each class. And some of them are huge. I didn't put a picture of the high school that I visited last time, but that's an immensely huge building. That's also in Kibera. But there are schools everywhere, and they range from really poor mud hut type or adobe kinds of schools with 2 rooms to fully modern, beautifully built computer labs, everything, high schools.
So when you
everything.
get into the, let's see, poor sections, medical, you were talking medical like eyes and stuff, but
Yeah.
do they have hospitals or?
Yep, lots of hospitals, lots of clinics. I think the healthcare system, from what I've seen, is really good. About the only thing I can think of that I would want to do here would be something like brain surgery. And that's only because I haven't seen anything there. But, and again, hospitals range too. There are very small clinics. There's the Fremo Clinic in Nairobi, which I've visited twice, that is a birth center, mostly a birth center, but they provide health care. And that started as a 1-room clinic. And has grown and now into a place where they deliver, told me, between 600 and 700 babies a year.
Wow.
And provide women's health care, and they do prenatal classes and they do antenatal classes, and they have immunization clinics, and that's right in the city. And they've grown now, so they have something like 15 rooms that are kind of individual buildings, but they're all connected by pathways. And then there are fully modern hospitals with 12 floors and surgical
Wow.
units. And
See, I'm getting a TV version of it where it's,
Yeah.
it's all, you're out there, you got
Yep.
the animals, you got a little place here and stuff. And
yeah, there are places where they need medical clinics. There are places that medical care is very difficult to get, especially when you get out of the cities. But there are also very modern. And there are private and public hospitals and clinics.
awesome. 'Cause I've always wondered when I've traveled the country, it's like, I wonder if they have hospitals there. I'm never anywhere so long, but go to Paris. Well, I would think Paris. Go to Rome and Tel Aviv, Cairo, and it's like, I don't see any of these places. And
Yeah.
they got to have something somewhere. And
I will. This trip I was at in September, two of the other volunteers who were living in the same home I was living in ended up having to go see a physician. And so our program coordinator, James, took them each, and one came back, and she had picked up bronchitis when she was in Tanzania. And so she had seen the doctor and gotten some medication, and it cost her a grand total of $14 for all of it. And then the other one had ended up doing a couple of things that probably weren't wise, like she drank some water one day that wasn't bottled, and but she ended up having an all-day IV, had to see the doctor, ended up with 4 medications and so on, and it cost her just under $200 total for all the medicine, all the doctor, the whole day of IVs.
That's good to
so
know.
it was, yeah, it was.
'Cause I've talked,
it's affordable.
I've talked like
For us.
with a friend in Thailand, and we have retirement homes here. I don't know if they have in Kenya, but over there, the family just takes care of the elderly. I don't think they have a lot of retirement homes. You take care of your family.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Although that I don't know so much about, and I'll have to remember to ask James.
So, when I was in India, I'm in a motel, Holiday Inn. Next to me is a little village, and they got a big well. They got pigs running around and everything. And I'm watching them out my window, and it's like, what a difference! I'm in a Holiday Inn, and they're in this, but they're drawing water out. And is there places like that in Kenya?
Yeah.
Like that's their village, just a little outdoor. They don't, they got shacks.
I mean, the slum is mostly people living in 10 by 12 houses, very close together, very small walkways in between them. And that's in Nairobi, so you can be within minutes of the skyscraper 5-star hotel, beautiful houses with indoor plumbing that are next to each other.
That's got to be
right
weird.
there.
I mean, living there's got to be, when they're like that, you see these motels, and it's like, I don't know. It's got to be sort of different. I don't know if you feel guilty, or you think the people are snobs, or I don't know how to explain it. Just, I mean, I was in the worst part of Cairo one time when I'm going through on a bus, and they're actually spraying a village with who knows what, and I'm like, but we stayed on the bus. But so how do they have shopping malls, so they're not really bartering there, correct?
I mean, you can, and I'm horrible at it, so I hate it when that happens. You can barter, especially if you go to Maasai land. There's a lot of bartering that happens there, or Maasai shops. A lot of bartering. Like I said, I'm horrible at it, so I avoid that as much as possible. But there are also stores with prices, and if you go in to buy grain, you pay for the grain. You don't barter for it. You just pay for it.
Egypt,
but like touristy things, you're more
Egypt
likely to barter for.
I was not prepared
For that.
for bartering.
Yeah, I'm awful at it.
Trying to get a cab, and
Yeah.
everybody had a cab, and they get out there. It's,
Yeah.
Nowadays it'd be Uber or something, probably the same
Yep,
thing.
and you can take
but-
Ubers. Yeah, you can go from your 5-star hotel into an Uber or a private car and take your safari with the balloon rides and the champagne breakfasts and all of that, and never see any of the the poverty in Kenya. There are some very wealthy places and very wealthy people.
I was a photographer. You said was it a zoo you went to, or a wildlife refuge?
I was at a wildlife refuge. I've gone a couple of one-day safaris. I've been at the Giraffe Rescue Center. I'm going to be at the Elephant Rescue Center on June 1st, finally. So I've been on different safaris and different rescue centers and educational centers.
Well, as close as I've been was Canada. Had I can't think what it was called, where you rode the bus through and you had animals on both sides. Monkeys crawling all over the bus.
Yep. There's a monkey park in Nairobi that you can go to and feed the monkeys. You buy peanuts and you can get them. I don't think I brought that picture, but you can get them up on your shoulder and they'll sit there and eat. And
yeah, that would be cool. But there they were hanging on the buses. They go through to get out of the area, and they got like curtains or something and knock them off or knock them back so they don't keep riding out. But I was like, we're paying all this money to get into this place. Why are we paying to ride a bus through there? But they ripped the wipers off of cars. And so the difference, Kenya now, I'm pretty sure a lot of stuff's in cages, or
only in the rescue
in there.
center, but a lot of things are out in the wild. I mean, if you go on a safari, it's all wild.
So when we go to a zoo here, we got to shoot through screen and glass. And
Yeah,
you
and at
never
the
get
rescue
that.
center, I had to do that, but that was a rescue center, and they had a lot of poisonous snakes and things, and I'm just as glad
Oh,
that they were
yeah,
behind
those,
glass.
they can
but
stay in. But,
that's not something I want to see in the wild.
most animals, you always got to shoot through something, glass or fence,
Yeah.
and it's like you just try to put your camera up to the little hole there.
Now, when I was in my first trip, when I was in Kitale, and we stayed at a lodge, basically at a lodge, everything I took there was nature. So all the birds were all just there. They were all out in nature. They came into the yard where we were getting ready to have breakfast or lunch.
Feed them
and-
out of your hands.
No, because they're wild. They were still wild. So no, we didn't feed them, but they were there.
Did that in Hawaii.
Flowers
This guy
and
goes out on the stone pier and in the morning. He's done it for I don't know how many years. And he just holds bread out like this. And they're swarmed all over him. Well, me, I had to try it.
Yeah.
And the feeling of it was just all these birds walking on your arms. I did it a couple times there, and of course I went to the Sea Life Park, and then they have it's a cage. It's a big walk-in place. They give me a handful of bird feed. You feed all the colorful birds, but I can watch this guy in the morning. I know there's a motel next to where we stayed that has a webcam. I can look down there and I can tell
Oh,
when
yeah.
he's feeding the birds. Can't really tell it's him, but see all these birds flying right to that same area, and it's like, but the feeling of it, just feeding the animals.
Now,
I
we
don't
did-
think I do it around here, but in Hawaii, it's like,
There it is.
was
We
awesome.
did feed giraffes. We went to the Giraffe Rescue Center in Nairobi in September, and you can buy the food and feed the giraffes, and they all come up to the fence. And of course, you have to be 2 stories up to feed a giraffe, but there's a picture of that coming up too.
Yeah,
I
that's
think.
cool.
But you get to just feed the giraffes, and they have black tongues, and you drop the food on their tongues, and
I'd be worried.
it's fun.
Where'd my hand go?
Yeah, I know.
Jeff, we got some pictures. I think we could pop them up now because we're talking about some of them. So just in any random order,
There we
there
are
it
feeding
is.
the giraffes. Yeah.
Now, is that
That's
a big one or
baby.
is it a baby?
That one's
I
a
was
baby.
going to say.
Yeah.
But then at the angle, it looked like maybe it, I guess
Yeah,
it's
no,
got
we're-
pretty short there.
Yeah, the adult giraffes are another 3 or 4 feet taller.
So you're putting the food right on the
his
tongue?
Oh,
They don't bite.
oh no,
So what else do we have there? Oh, giraffes are
giraffes.
awesome. I remember
that was fun.
getting
Yeah.
a picture at Terry Zoo at one time. That was one of my favorite pictures back then.
This is in the slum in Kibera, and the red roof you can see, or the red building you can see in the distance is the special needs school I go to. But I meet my guide, Dan, up here, and then we walk down the hill, and then we climb up the hill. And the first time we went up, Nairobi is a mile above sea level for us. And I'm not thin, but I am fairly fit, and I do hike a lot. However, we were halfway up this hill, and I made some comment, and Dan turned around and looked at me and said, "You need to exercise more." But he's a wonderful person too. I absolutely adore spending time with him, and he's a wonderful, terrific guide and very safe to be with. But I had to go up the hill into that. That's the special needs school we go up into.
So what's the temperature? Is it towards the equator?
It's on the equator. I've actually straddled the equator when I was there
Oh,
once.
hot.
And the temperature varies a little bit during the year. It can get into the 90s, for us, 90s, 100. It can get down into even the upper 40s on occasion, usually into the 60s. I expect when I get there this time, because it's the cooler season now, June, July is cooler. So it will be in the 80s in the daytime and in the 60s at night.
It's not too bad. I was in Singapore.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to
Yeah,
the
it's
equator.
not bad.
and just sweat.
I was laughing at the one school I visited the first trip. We got there and people were asking if I was cold, and I kept saying, "I'm fine, why?" And the kids came in, it dropped to 72, so they all went and got their winter coats. They were all wearing parkas and winter coats and zipped up and hoods and the whole bit because it had gotten down to 72.
They probably
So,
don't
yeah.
see snow over there.
Well,
Not there,
you know,
maybe, but
Mount Kenya has some, I think, but yeah, not normally, no.
yeah, it's
Kilimanjaro
such a
does.
different world, you know. It's like- Do we have some more, Jeff?
More pictures.
Ooh.
This is at Hell's Gate Park, which is where Tomb Raider was filmed, which was the inspiration for the artwork for The Lion King and Disney. That's a hot spring where you can see the clouds coming up. And we hiked, there's a bike ride through Hell's Gate that a lot of people do, and you just ride through the animals. I mean, you're riding along on the road, and there are the water buffalo, and there are the zebras, and there are the gazelles and giraffes and whatever. But there aren't any predators there. So it's a safe place to ride. And then we hiked through this whole area also.
So what's
got
it
to wash
called
in the
again?
hot springs and
What's it called again?
Hell's Gate, yeah. And that was a national park also. That was fun.
Man, you get around over there.
I do. One of the things that I've laughed about is that James had said at my second trip that usually the elderly, we get our own rooms because we need our private time, and older people like to rest a lot, and so they usually give us time off during the day so that we can all, and he looked at me the last day and he said, well, normally I'd give you the day off so that you can rest and get ready for your travels, but you don't rest, do you? And I said, no, I don't. Fill my day. I want to see everything and do everything. So my last trip in February, it was full. We packed it full of everything we could
So
pack
you're
it full
going
of.
through an organized group when you go over?
I go through.
You go yourself.
I went through the mission group called International Sports Academy, the first trip. Second trip, I went through a group called IVHQ, International Volunteer Headquarters, which is based in New Zealand, but they partner with volunteer agencies all over the world, and their volunteer agency there is National Volunteer Services of Kenya. Now I go with a group called Acts of Compassion Foundation, which I have loved. That was my last trip that I went with, and I'll stay with them at this point now. So I'll be going with them too. And I'm working with them on setting up volunteer visits too. So I will set up volunteer agencies or college. I'm working with some colleges now to do some exchange programs with Acts of Compassion Foundation. And if anybody out there is interested in going, happy to set up a trip. Go with you if you want. If you have a volunteer group that wants to go, I would love to take a volunteer group in any capacity. They do music groups, they do sports groups, they do women's empowerment groups, they do animal conservation, they do special ed, regular education, medical. So yeah, anybody who wants to go, I'm happy to take you. I just can't go in October or November because I'm going to become a grandma. So I'm taking those 2 months off.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. But it's a wonderful organization to travel with.
When you go through an organization, do they run you from early morning to late at night like a travel agent does?
No.
I'm talking like
No.
Hawaii. I met people that were from early morning to late at night. They're doing something.
If you want to, you can. But most of them, there's Kenya time. And there is Mzungu time. Mzungus being white people. And that's another thing James and I joke about is Kenya time is very relaxed. And like the school that I work at, the students can get there by 8 o'clock or 8:30 in the morning. But depending on when my guide shows up or when my escort shows up, I might get there by 8:30. I might get there at 10. It also depends on when the matatus are running and if they're full, and and then we're done at 1:30-ish. But it might be 3 before the kids leave, and it's a very relaxed pace for the most part. But if you want to have it full, if you want to keep going and going and going,
I mean, I'm running into elderly people, and the travel agent has booked them in every single thing there is to do in Hawaii, and I get there the first day. You're going to wake up early because of the time change.
Right.
But I don't want to be running the whole time. I want to be able to stop and sit. And I enjoy just sitting and taking pictures of the ocean and people surfing.
There's a lot of time to do that.
I saw these people, and it's like, oh my gosh, how can travel agent got them for a lollipop?
Yeah, and we stay at homestays when we're there. So we stay in people's homes. The volunteer agencies that I have gone with stay in people's homes. We eat what they cook. We take public transportation for the most part, although, like I said, James spoils me a lot. So there are times that he will call for an Uber. But and it is very relaxed. If we go out for lunch, and I'm thinking, all right, we're going to go eat, and then we're going to go do this thing, and it might be 2 hours later when we finally get up and go do the next thing, and it's a very nice pace. But there are days now, we've just started this, where James will look at me and say, are we on Kenya time or Mzungu time today? And I can say, Kenya time's good, or I can say, well, Mzungu time. I want to get these things done. So now we talk about that and joke a little bit.
So you talked a little about the medical prices. Are they expensive over there?
It's hard for people over there to pay. I mean, public hospitals, not so much, but if you have to go to a private hospital, if your child is extremely sick and you have to go someplace private, or there was a medical, oh gosh, I just lost the word. Strike. There was a strike for a while, and the doctors weren't working in the public hospitals, and so people were having to go to the private hospitals, so they were having to pay more, and it became very difficult for a lot of families.
How about going to buying food and going to malls?
Again, It's relative. When we do a feeding program in Kibera, we can buy enough grain for $35 to feed 200 kids for that meal.
Wow.
Which we make into a porridge. So we make it, food is not, we would not consider it expensive. It's one of the things you would notice if you went to a mall or a grocery store, how cheap things seem to be. But compared to the cost of living, the cost of living allowance and salary allowances, it's not easy for everybody.
So is it hard? Do you eat what they eat, or do you look at the food like,
There have only been two things that have been hard for me to eat. One, the first time I got served a full fish, I couldn't eat the head. I had to give that to somebody else. Sometime we went out for nyama choma, which is a Maasai barbecue, and everything tasted phenomenally good, but I was having so much trouble chewing the meat. Actually, Dan looked over across the table at me at one point and said, "You need softer meat, don't you?" I was like, "I do. I need softer meat." But it's so good, and I could have gnawed my way through it, but it was delicious. So those are the only two things that I've found so far that haven't been delicious. I'm not sure if I was ever offered blood or brains if I would eat them, but those are Maasai kinds of things, and I don't know. But usually I just eat, and what we're served is phenomenal. Almost every morning it's some sort of really good fried bready thing, like mandazi, which are donuts, or triangular donuts, or chapati, which is fried bread, or pancakes, or just phenomenally good food. Really, really good food. They have stews that are really good. I love ugali, which is a cornmeal. It's like the consistency of mashed potatoes almost, but you use it to scoop your other food. Most white people don't like it, but I do. So there's a lot of really, really good food. You can also go out if you want to go out for American style food. You can. I took James's son out once. He wanted to go out for pizza, so we went out for pizza, and he and I each had a pizza. My 14-inch pizza with chicken and whatever on it was $4, and so you can there's an Arby's in the mall if you really want to go to Arby's. I don't.
Jeez.
I want to eat Kenyan food. So
when
good.
I was in India, I took the taxi from the airport to the motel. The guy kept telling me money. And the first thing you get to a country, you're trying to figure out the exchange.
Yep.
You exchange money at the airport, and
Yeah.
he kept telling me. And when I got to the motel, I got out, and he's telling me the price, and the doorman goes, "Don't you dare pay him that much money."
Yeah.
Take his
Yeah.
cab number and turn him in. It's like, when you think about it, it was probably not even $5.
The first time we hired a driver to take me out to Maasai Land, James said, "Well, I have a friend who can drive you out, but he's going to overcharge you." And then when he told me what he was going to charge me for the day of driving, I thought, I don't think that's overcharged.
Yeah. For them it is, but
Yeah. And I was
it
happy
like-
to pay it too.
It was like, I don't know what he's really trying
Yeah.
to figure out their money. And the guy at the motel, "Don't you pay him that much?" It's
Yeah.
like, come on, I probably didn't even pay him $5 to get all the way from the airport to the motel. And I mean, they get gas and stuff. They must get it awful cheap, because if they paid what we did here, you'd be paying them a lot of money. 'Cause
Well,
it's quite
gas
a
is
ride from the
expensive.
airport to.
In Kenya. Oh, so here's
Oh,
a
we do
picture
get
of
a
the,
picture.
this is at the high school, and it's a horticultural program. They have two big greenhouses where they're growing tomatoes. I'm supposed to go back in June because the tomatoes will be ripe. So this was one of the head teachers who was teaching me about their horticulture program. Here's the next one.
Yeah, more, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, here.
This is at the feeding program in Kibera. That's the porridge that we made the day that we were there. This was the view from the dining room to where we ate the first trip I took in November of 22. And we just sat there and looked out and watched wild animals walk across the yard, and there were birds and gorgeous flowers, and it was an
my
amazing
gosh.
place to stay.
And I guess.
Yeah.
There.
This is at the 14 Falls where I hiked. It was a day of misadventure for me. I slammed my finger in the door. I fell down a hill. I fell into the water. I forgot my sunscreen, but it was still the most beautiful, beautiful hike and
And I
day I'd ever
guess.
had.
So that's 14 Falls.
14 Falls, and some of them are on the other side of the tree. But that was about an hour outside of Nairobi. So
That would
James
be-
and Jacob and I drove out
that
there
would be
and
awesome.
hiked for the day. It was really nice.
Ooh.
This is the smallest school I ever saw. But these kids came out. I wish I brought the video, but we got there and they started singing at us. So they all stood there and sang this welcome song. And their outhouse had fallen down, so they had to rent one from a neighbor, and they were trying to build another outhouse.
Oh,
But this
geez.
was the poorest school I've seen.
So they put
But
all
they were
those,
great.
They put
They
all
were
those
great.
kids in one school?
That is, I believe that's 2 classrooms full. I think that's 2 classrooms of kids. It might be 1, but I think it's 2. Yeah, and there's one other building behind that one. So,
They pretty strict with their kids?
yeah.
Are
yeah.
they?
This is just driving around cactus plants. I had some wonderful drivers who I like to try to speak Swahili. I've tried to learn some, and they were amazing at teaching me and being very, very patient with my really bad Swahili.
I have to apologize to them because I can't even speak English that good. Talk about trying to learn a language. I could never learn a language.
People have been very kind about me trying.
My first trip around the world, I bought all those little books where you, and I only used it once. I pointed to a phone card because I wanted to call home from Paris and had to go to a tobacco shop. And I don't know what I paid, but
How well does Google Translate work?
Google Translate, I've never actually used it because I don't have a phone, so I don't travel with a cell phone. When I do it online, I can translate fairly well, and I can always say to somebody, "Is this the right way?" And it's usually understandable. Any questions about that?
what's that?
I do that a lot when I'm writing to people. I'll try to write it myself, and then I'll check it with like Google Translate.
I had a
Or
message from
translation
a
program.
relative in Sweden, and it was in CO or something like something.
okay.
I thought that was his whole name.
Oh,
the way
yeah,
it written
yeah,
out.
yeah.
It was cool. Well, we got a little over 3 minutes. What would you like to talk about that I missed?
Only that I love to talk about Kenya. I've done presentations at libraries, Lakeshore Center for the Arts, churches, and schools, and if anybody's interested, I am very happy to come and talk. I've got 20-minute presentations, I've got 2-hour presentations, I've got general overviews, I have specific, like just medical, just flora and fauna. I have a pen pal exchange program going with an after-school program from Westfield, so I'm taking letters when I go with me and bringing letters back when I come back. I love to travel to Kenya, and I would love to take people to Kenya. And if anybody is interested, it is a very safe place to be. It is a very welcoming country. People there have a reputation for being some of the friendliest people on the world, and it is a well-deserved reputation. It's just, I could talk about it for weeks. And
I guess one thing I forgot to ask you was you're a photographer.
I do take
Do you
pictures.
have a ball? You take quite a few when you're over there?
It depends on where I am. When I go to volunteer places, I don't always take my camera because I'm there to work. And I
Yeah.
don't want people to think I'm there as a
Oh,
tourist.
yeah.
I want people to know that I'm there to help. But I also do carry my camera quite often, and I do take as many pictures as I can, especially of the nature of the people. I've done a couple of books.
They like your pictures taken, or
Most people do. In
Egypt,
some
they take-
places, they begged to have their pictures
Oh, I
taken,
bet.
but I always ask. And it's rude to take people's pictures without asking, so I
Yeah.
always ask first if I
mean,
may take somebody's
in
picture.
Egypt, if
Nobody's
you
ever
take
told me
a
no.
picture of a camel and the
Yeah.
owner sees it, you got to pay him.
Oh, yeah. No, people don't do that as
nice.
much, but yeah.
So we got a minute left, and you're
Yeah,
getting
I
to go to
mean-
Kenya. When are you leaving?
Thursday. I leave Thursday.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
5 days. 5 days. I'm going back.
And how long are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there almost 3 weeks this time.
Ooh.
Almost 3 weeks. It's like 18 days in country and then 3 days travel. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
Traveling, I used to love it when I was a little, not so fat. Now the airplanes are like, the seats are about this wide.
They are. I was planning to be a lot thinner before I went back this
The
time. It
leg
didn't
room's
happen.
about that much, and you get put in the inside, you're going to sit there, you're not getting up for 9 hours or whatever. How long of a flight is it? I mean, you said it was a
Depending,
couple-
it's about 24 hours.
24?
No, it's 30 total from door to door, so it's about 24 in the plane, in a plane. Yeah,
It's a long ride.
it's a long ride.
Done
It's a long ride.
16, that was bad enough. Well, we're about done. I just want to thank you for coming, and
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk about Kenya.
oh yeah, I missed your lectures or your talks.
I'll be doing
at
them again. I'll be
Lakeshore.
doing it again at Lakeshore Center for the Arts. When I get back, there'll be a day worth of lectures, so.
Well, thanks for coming. I want to thank Jeff on controls, Chris Oberheiden in the office, and Justin, my cameraman, and Doc. We'll see you in a few weeks. I know you're probably watching me the whole time, so I'm gonna make some funny face at you. So thanks a lot for coming, and we shall see you again in Kenya, after Kenya.